And welcome back to You Decide Southern California 2014, where we question the candidates about the issues that you care about. On the hot seat now is Lucille Kring. The current Anaheim City Councilwoman is in a three-way race for mayor against incumbent Mayor Tom Tate and last week's guest, former Councilwoman Lori Galloway.
Hey, well, you know, last week we had Lori and we started off with a similar question. Anaheim has had a lot of challenges in the last couple of years. One of the reasons you ran for council, civil unrest, issues with the police department, corporate subsidies. You know, what do you bring to the table as mayor that would actually differentiate you from the current mayor and help deal with some of these challenges that Anaheim is facing?
Well, thank you, Brian. That's a great question. I think I bring the ability to be a consensus builder. We have 4 council members and a mayor, and when you're on, you need to talk to your colleagues. You need to figure out what the agenda of each one is and move it forward. The police department, last night we just approved their cameras for the first time in Orange County that a police department has done that. So that's going to alleviate a lot of problems we've had with civil unrest. The people who had problems a couple of years ago came to council last night. We're very excited that we're doing that because it's going to show both sides of the story.
But one of the problems, some say, is that you have a city that is more than half Latino, and you have a police department that is only 23% Latino. Do you see that as a problem? And as mayor, what would you do to address it?
And let me add to that also, you know, there's no representation a lot of people feel for the Latino population on the council itself. You know, there's that east-west dynamic where a lot of the people who are on the council, I think all of them live in one portion of the city, the more affluent portion of the city, and no one from the other side of the city is there to represent.
And a lot of people think those two things are related.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, that's incorrect. Only 2 people live in the hills, the mayor and 1 council person. I live at the south part of Anaheim, and 2 of my colleagues live in the central part, the Colony District. So we are really scattered. I live 1 block east of West Anaheim, so I consider myself a Westerner. As far as 53% of the city being Hispanic, that's absolutely true by the 2010 census. However, there have been 4 council members who have been Latina, and there have been 6 women who have been elected to council. But there are always Hispanics on the ballot. And last time, in 2012, only 12% of the Hispanics voted. So it's not a question of representation, it's a question of participation.
But in the police department, it is a question of representation,
well,
23%.
Well, we don't go out and we'd say we're specifically taking a Hispanic or a Muslim or a white person. We want the best candidate. Anaheim has very, very high standards for bringing people in. We have a funnel.
Are you saying there aren't qualified Latino?
I'm not saying that. They may not apply. I don't know, I haven't seen who applies, but I know for a fact that when we do have slots for about 15 different police to come into the city. So, and I've asked, why does it take so long for a police officer to be hired? And they say because 400 or 500 people apply, and they have this huge funnel, and by the time it gets out, their rules are very specific, and it's very stringent to get into Anaheim because we're a full-service city. We have SWAT, we have K-9, we've got Horse Patrol, we've got everything, and it's a desirable place. So Anaheim always wants to get the best person who's available, regardless of what their ethnicity is.
Do you support the proposal to divide the councils into districts?
Absolutely not.
Why?
It'll balkanize the city, and if you start dividing things up, and I think the people have been misled, because if you are in, let's say where I live in the south part of the city, and if you have 3 or 4 people running, they only have to live in the city 30 days, maybe that should be changed. So you have 3 or 4 people running, and perhaps you don't like anything that anybody says. You don't even agree with your wife 80% of the time, but I mean, more than 80%. So it's difficult to get people to agree with you in a political arena that they will give you their vote. So if you don't feel that anybody here represents your thoughts, you are barred from voting for somebody else in a different part of the city. So you basically are disenfranchised. And most of the cities that have gone bankrupt, they have been district cities. You get this thing where if you want a police station, you want a fire station, I want a park, you get your police station, and next year you and I are fighting and we don't get what we want because there's no consensus building. When you're at large, you're moving the city forward. The budget only goes so far, and you should all work together to do what's right for the city, and we are trying to do that, and I think districting would be a complete disaster.
All right, Councilwoman Kring, this is the point at which you can have your say about your candidacy, anything that you want to say in 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, that's all you get.
Okay, well, you've gotten a flavor of how I feel, so I won't go and repeat that. But I want to be mayor of Anaheim. One of the things is that most of the people who support the current mayor 4 years ago have decided to support me. They encouraged me to run. And I just feel that we need civility at City Council. We do not need to have a certain person call the women on council horrible names. We need to, because there are children there all the time, we need to make sure that our police get what they need. We need to make sure that the Angels stay in town without any tax subsidy. And we also need to expand the convention center because we are in serious jeopardy of losing our 2 biggest conventions if we don't. Thank you. It's so nice to be here on the hot seat.
All right, and thank you. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And when we come back, some final thoughts, including how you can get in touch and share your comments.